Hi, I'm Rebecca. Today we'll be doing some short exercises to introduce you to the concept of gentrification. By the end of this lesson, you'll be able to define gentrification and analyze it from different perspectives. You will need something to write on for this lesson, so get that ready. To get started, we'll do a quick self-check about what you already know about gentrification and what you think about it. In 20 seconds, write down words you think of when you hear gentrification. If you haven't heard of gentrification, then just write that down. Great. Now draw a circle around what you just wrote. We'll come back to it later in the lesson. Think back to places you've lived or visited and places that you live now. Give a thumbs up or a thumbs down if you've experienced one of these things. Have you ever lived in a neighborhood? Have you ever noticed any neighborhood that you've lived in has changed? Have you ever noticed new stores in your hometown? Have you ever seen a Whole Foods or a high-end grocery store? And have you ever seen a luxury apartment? All but the first question here are examples of how a neighborhood might change and things you might notice if gentrification is happening. Gentrification is just one process of neighborhood change. Some other words for gentrification are urban regeneration, neighborhood upgrading, or neighborhood change. Gentrification means different things to different people. Let's examine this definition from Google. Google defines gentrification as the process of renovating and improving a house or district so that it conforms to middle-class taste. From your perspective, is this a positive, neutral, or negative process? Indicate where you think it fits on a scale of thumbs up to thumbs down. So next, we'll take a minute to read sociologist Ruth Glass's definition of gentrification. She coined the term in her 1964 book, London: Aspects of Change. With this definition, do you consider gentrification positive, neutral, or negative? You can just indicate that with your thumb. While we're considering gentrification, we do need to consider who benefits and who loses through this process of neighborhood change. Is it a neutral process? We'll consider this from three different perspectives, which represent three major theories of gentrification that'll be covered later in this course. So the three perspectives that we're going to look at are the perspectives of business owners and investors, residents, both new and old in a neighborhood, and then the city itself. So from a resident's perspective, neighborhood is a place where you live. It's your home. It has services and businesses that you can use. You like it because it has character and it's authentic. And it's your neighborhood. It's your community. It's yours. If you were a business person or an investor, you might see opportunity in a neighborhood. You could see ways that you could improve it, and you could see ways that improvements in the neighborhood might make you successful. Now we'll consider the perspective of the city. So cities use property taxes to fund urban projects and services, for example, public schools. Deteriorating neighborhoods have higher costs for policing and higher risks of urban problems like fires or degrading school buildings. So the city chooses to revitalize neighborhoods to increase the city profit and improve the city to ultimately provide better services to its residents. So we'll use these three perspectives to analyze the images that you see here. The top image is from James and Carla Murray's book of photography, Storefront: The Disappearing Face of New York. The bottom photograph was taken by the same photographers 10 years later of the same street corner. You can see that there are changes between these two pictures. So what's going on here? So imagine being a resident of this neighborhood. What has changed for you? You have a fancy gelato restaurant now, but the neighborhood pizza place had to move around the corner, and the grocery store is gone. So, what else is going on? Do you think the same people who went to the grocery store and the pizza place will go to the gelato store now? Do you think that lower income residents in this neighborhood will be able to even afford gelato? And where are they going to get their groceries? New residents may come to this neighborhood for trendy gelato places like this. So there are benefits, but there's also losses. Whether this is a positive, negative, or neutral process really depends on who you ask. Now we'll think about this from the perspective of business owners in the area, particularly from the perspective of the landlord for this building. So the landlord did raise the rent on the building, and Joe's Pizza had to move around the corner. The trendy Italian gelato chain moved in downstairs, and so they're now paying a higher rent for both of these locations. Do you think let's think about the apartments upstairs the landlord is probably renting. Do you think that the residents from 10 years ago could afford to live above this gelato restaurant? Now let's consider this from the perspective of the city. This new store is renovated, which means the building could be assessed at a higher price. That means that the city could generate more profit and put in better schools in this area and clean up the streets, which would be really awesome for the residents who are still there. But do you think that all the residents in this neighborhood who were there at the beginning picture are still there now? Who will really benefit from these services? So as you can see, there is an interest in gentrification from all of these three perspectives. There's the potential for more profit, new customers, and neighborhood change, as well as income for the city, which leads to improvements in schools and streets and services. There are also costs of gentrification. As you can see, there are costs for displacement, culture change, as well as a cost of additional investment to the city. So is the cost the same for everyone? Is this process neutral? We'll talk about this in the next course segment. So really, is gentrification a neutral process? So to wrap up, we'll do another 20-second brainstorm. So write down the words you think of when you hear gentrification now. Now draw a circle around those words. So compare your first list of words to the new list that you just wrote down. Do you notice differences in how you perceive gentrification before and after this lesson? Write 1 or 2 sentences reflecting on any differences.